And I'd like to welcome everyone to Business Planning the Easier Way. We have our presenter today, Mark Goldberg, and he is actually with the Cape Cod SCORE, but since the SCORE chapters in Massachusetts work as a team, he is presenting for us today because I'm from Boston, so it's a very collaborative environment. It's a wonderful experience to work with our SCORE volunteers. We are also being sponsored today by the Middlesex Bank, so we have representatives from there to help answer questions that you have, along the way or perhaps at the end of the program. So please keep those in mind, and we'll go over those rules in a moment. So as we get started, I do want to talk about SCORE in case you're not familiar with SCORE. Our primary goal is to get information to the small business community. And we do that in a couple different ways. One is through the information on our website, score.org. Definitely check it out if you've not been there. You're going to find lots of free business templates, not just business plans, but marketing plans and financial plans and all kinds of different things you can download. You're going to find articles. You're going to find previously recorded presentations, lots of great information. So highly recommend that you check that out. And the other way we share information is through our webinars and workshops. That information is often shared through a newsletter, or you can also find events on the website. The most important thing that SCORE does, however, or at least I think so, is the mentoring. Our mentors are volunteers that come to us with a variety of experience and knowledge to share with the business community. We work with clients that are trying to decide if small business is right for them. We're working with those in the planning phase, and we're working with those that are already in business. We work as a team at our SCORE chapters. So when you meet with one mentor, you're getting the experience of other mentors, because they will go back and ask someone else, hey, how would you do this? How would you do that? They can refer you to others as your needs change. It's a wonderful experience for anyone in the small business realm. So I really strongly suggest that if you don't have a SCORE mentor, to get a SCORE mentor. A first session, they're going to want to know about you, what your goals are, what your challenges are, and they're going to help you put together a plan to work towards achieving those goals and overcoming those challenges. So now the next question is, how do you get that mentor? Super, super easy. Just go to the score.org website. There's a blue box, put your zip code in, and that will connect you to the chapter that's nearest you. Then they'll ask you a couple questions so that they can recommend the right person to get things going. So definitely do that if you haven't thought about it before. We are going to use the Q&A button. It's on your Zoom bar to submit questions, and then those questions can be will be read out to our presenter or the members from the bank if you want. I have a question for them as well. We will address some as we go, and then most of them we'll address at the end. So just be patient with us on that, and we'll hopefully get to all the questions that are submitted. We are recording, and you can find that recording at the score.org/Boston website. Under previously recorded webinars, you can see from the graphic there. And I will also be sending you a follow-up email that will have the template and different bits of information from today's presentation, the recording link, and information on how to reach out to the bank if you didn't get your question answered or you think of one later. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our sponsor today. We have David Bennett. He's the Senior Vice President at Middlesex Bank. He's been with that bank since 1996, and he has been through all the different responsibility positions at the bank, and currently oversees a team of the business bankers and the bank's portfolio of small business loans. And he's going to tell us a little bit about Middlesex Banks. So it's all you, David.
All right. Well, thank you, Teresa, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by just thanking everyone for taking the time to join today's webinar on business planning. And on behalf of Middlesex Savings Bank, we're certainly delighted to be today's sponsor. For those of you that don't know, Middlesex Savings Bank is the largest independent bank in Massachusetts. And by independent, I mean that we're a mutual savings bank with no shareholders. This allows us to take a long view and focus on our customers and the community while not having to answer to shareholders. There are certainly a lot of good banks in the market. We know that. And while we like to think we have some advantages over other banks, let's face it, most banks are pretty much the same. And as they say, all our money is green. However, what I can tell you is the reason business owners like you come to Middlesex and stay with us for the long term. They come because they're frustrated. They're frustrated by long selling cycles and slow payments that make their cash tight. As they grow, they become challenged with the need to invest in people, equipment, or processes. And they're anxious because they want to work with a partner that works with businesses just like them. Some of this actually may resonate with you. Our bankers, they take the time to understand these issues. They work with the business to help solve them and be part of your team as you grow. And part of that growth is today's topic, business planning. And it's something that we see that is critical to the success of every business. As they say, failing to plan is planning to fail. Or as Vince Lombardi would say, proper preparation prevents poor performance. No matter how you slice it, though, a business needs to know where they stand and where they're going. It doesn't guarantee success, but the plan will keep you focused and in tune with the important matters that affect your business. As a bank, we want to see a business owner that can articulate the plan, its opportunities, potential roadblocks, and that knows all aspects of their company. And our team can help with that process by tapping into a vast network of organizations and people that can assist. SCORE is definitely one of our go-to organizations that's a long track record with helping businesses plan to succeed. And we have many success stories right in our own loan portfolio. So I hope you enjoyed today's webinar and walk away with some ideas and lessons that you can make your own. So enjoy, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have. Teresa?
Thanks, David. I'm going to introduce here Mark Goldberg in just a few seconds. If you wouldn't mind, for those that haven't, if you would introduce yourself in chat and let us know what business you are in or will be starting. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark Goldberg. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, as both Teresa and David indicated, we're going to be talking about business planning and doing it the simple way. I was in business for over 40 years, working for Fortune 500 companies, and for 30 years operated my own business. Every year, we started with a plan, and that plan was our guide. But the planning in today's environment has to be not only simple, focused, and direct, it has to be easily implemented and not burdened down with volumes and volumes of information. So today, what we're going to talk about is utilizing a simple way to do your planning. When we think about planning, we also want to think about the fact that we want to look at accuracy before momentum. Now, everyone that goes to a webinar, goes to a workshop, goes to an educational forum, wants to walk away with one thought. Well, Peter Johnson in the early 1980s conducted a workshop out in California that I attended. I walked away with the phrase accuracy before momentum. So you need to think in terms of crawl, walk, run as you develop your plan, and make sure that it's accurate before you speed up to a run situation. Well, today what we're going to do is look at business planning from a 30,000-foot overview, and that is a business plan communicates, and it's a communication tool. It's a tool to communicate to your employees, if you have any, to your investors, if you have investors, to your bank. And what it is a guide. And the plan itself answers a couple of quick questions. And I'm frozen. How about that? The first question it answers is, where do you want to go? Now, a business plan can be used to start a business. A business plan can be used to launch a business, to grow a business, to exit a business. A business plan can be used to add product or services to your current business. So it answers the question, where do you want to go? And then it gives you solutions as to how are you going to get there. It looks at strategies, and that is, what are you going to do in order to get to where you want to go, and how, the tactics, are you going to do that? So a plan is really like a compass. It points you in the right direction. It helps you get to where you want to go. And it's only as long as it takes to convey your message. And that's the beauty of what we're going to talk about today. One of the very first clients I had when I started my business, and my business focus when we started was not the focus when it ended, but I went to work as a consultant for a leverage buyout company. And they had me reading business plans and viewing them as to the potential success. So what I found was everything that I needed to know was on the first page, the summary. But it took 30, 40 pages of information to communicate the detail. Well, the business model canvas, which we're going to talk about today, synthesizes it down to one page. Now, a plan is a living document. And that is, as the environment changes, as the environment in which you are working changes, the plan changes. It's not cast in concrete. You don't write it on January the 2nd and December 31st. It should be the same because your environment changes. So it's a living document and should be changed according to the needs. Now, the full business plan ends up being a volume of information. And there are many templates for it. The SBA has a template, SCORE has a template, but the best template that I have found, especially for someone who has not done a business plan, is the Southeast Economic Development Corporation's plan. Why? Because it asks you, the writer, questions. And when you finish answering the questions, you have the core information that you need in order to write the story. And that's what a business plan is. It's a story about your business, about your idea, about what you want to do and how you plan to get there. What are all the integral parts that make it a whole? But this Seed Corp plan template asks you the questions. So it's a good starting point. So what is a business model canvas? Well, it is a document that helps you plan where you're going to go. It's a tactical tool. It's not strategic, it's tactical. It gets right down to the basics of what are you offering? To whom are you offering it? How are you going to reach them? What are all the integral parts of your business model? It's a brainstorming tool because if you do it in pencil, you can just use the eraser and change the assumptions. If you use a pen, you just line it out and add the next assumption. It's dynamic. It can change and it will change. The business plan also can be used as an operating document. How you're going to function once you get launched. And those of you who are going to visit Middlesex for a loan, it can be used as a framework for a detailed business plan because they normally need more than the simple statements that we have to create the business model canvas. So the business model canvas does several things, but it poses the key questions around which you will develop your business model. What do you do? To whom are you going to do it for and help? How are you going to reach them? How do you interact with your customers? What is it that you will do in order to develop your business? And what kind of resources or partners do you need? And last but not least, the economics. So we're going to take a look at each of these blocks to help you look at what it is you need to do to create a business model canvas. The very first block is the value proposition. Now, this is not physically what you do. My business was in the trade show and event industry. We trained staff how to work shows, and then we measured their results to determine if they were generating a return on their investment. Our value proposition was not training and measurement. Our value proposition was peace of mind that their investments were generating returns. So you need to think in terms of what is it that you are doing to solve the problem that your customer might have. Now, when you do that, you have to ask what need, want, or desire does your client or customer have? So it may be that in my case, the exhibit manager or the vice president of sales and marketing wanted to know if they were generating a return on the monies that they were investing. So then once you do that, you start asking yourself some other questions like, what's so compelling about your product or service? And what gains are you providing your customers in order so they can make the proper decisions? So you need to understand the problems or the needs that they are facing so that you can generate a value proposition that resonates with them. So it's not what you do, it's more about the problems you're solving or satisfying a need that they may have. So if your customer is on the right and they have certain specific jobs that they do in order to satisfy their customer needs, they're going to have pains. They go to a trade show or an event and they invest $250,000 and they don't know it was worth it or not. And you're on the left and you've generated a measurement tool that they can use to determine whether they generated a return or not. And that's your product or service. And that becomes a gain creator, which is a gain for your customer. So you need to think in terms of what problems your customers are facing and how you can help solve their problems. And that's your value proposition. Now, I want to use Waze, and all of you know Waze, the GPS. You want to use Waze as an example. So what's their value proposition? Well, their value proposition is to help you beat traffic. I get out on Route 6 and they're doing tree trimming. And it says to me, get off at Route 149 and take 6A to the bridge. It helps you navigate any place. The very first time I became aware of Waze, I was on my way to a client meeting in New Jersey. I had a map. And I was with an associate. She said, why are you using a map? I said, well, that's how we're going to get to where we're going. So she downloaded Waze on my cell phone. And it took me left, right. And all of a sudden we were in their parking lot. Navigate anywhere, provides warnings, police ahead. It's also satisfying because you're not running around in circles trying to find where you're going. It also helps you find attractions. You can tell you where every Dunkin' Donut is and every McDonald's. But it also is relevant to drivers because the advertisers on there give information about where you can get services while you're driving. So that's the value proposition. Secondly, for whom are you creating the value? So who are your customers? How do you define them? What do they think, see, feel, or do? And how do they buy? So you need to define them very specifically. In our case, we had 2 levels of buyers in our primary client base, and we had a second client base. The first client base were exhibitors, people who went to trade shows and events. And within that, there were the executive level who had the budget control, and the tactical level, which were the exhibit managers and the buyer. We also had a second level, and that was exhibition organizers that would buy our services. So we had to understand what their needs were in order for us to focus our value propositions. You need to also look at geographic issues, social issues, age group issues. You need to understand whether it's an in-person or an online connection. So understanding your customer base is critical to assigning the value proposition so that you can focus what it is that you're developing. Now, if you look at Waze, they have geographic segments. Some of their buyers, which we don't pay for it, but where their buyer are drivers, because I could use a Google map versus a Waze. Drivers who become part of a community are also another segment, as well as those roadside businesses that buy into Waze in order for us to see what's available. So what we want to do is think in terms of the customer segments and clearly define them as closely as you possibly can. Now, the third block we want to look at are channels. Channels are not the sales channels specifically, but the communication channels. Because whether you're starting a business, whether you're adding products or service to your business, whether you're moving to a new geographic outlet, you need to understand how your customer segments get their information. And there's only one way you can really find out, and that is ask them. How are they going to receive information about your value proposition? How are they going to understand who you are and what you do and how you can be a gain for them? Now, many people think in terms of the buying continuum when they think of the value proposition and communication to targeted audiences. What it is you're trying to do through this element is position yourself in their mind. So when they think they have a need, your name pops up. Your brand pops up. So understanding the communication channels helps you understand their needs and how they get information to meet their needs. Now, the buying continuum is very straightforward. The first is awareness of your brand. So everybody starts from unawareness. They go to awareness. They go from awareness to understanding your brand. Then from understanding your brand, they believe what it is you're communicating in your value proposition. Once they believe it, they will try it. If it works, they'll buy again, or they will refer you. So you want to think in terms of how it is that your customers get their information so you can position yourself to take them through the continuum. Now, Waze, mostly their customers get information about Waze by word of mouth. Somebody tells them, you got to try this, you'll never get lost again. There's also some fee apps that are fully featured. Most of it is free. But in the advertisers will come to them. Now, this is critical because this is a cool thing about Business Model Canvas. When strategizers developed it, they developed it so that the user can validate their assumptions before they go into the full plan, even the full business model plan. So you take the value proposition, the channels, the customer segments, and you go out and validate. You go to potential customers and assess your value proposition and assess whether they are valid customer segments. Assess whether the channels that you have identified that will reach them, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be YouTube, whether it be any other social media platform, or whether it be email, whether it be mail, direct mail, whatever it is, will work. Once you validated the concepts in the first 3 blocks, you can move to the next blocks in the plan. And that is, what kind of relationship do you want with your customer? Is it a subscription base? Is it a one-off base? Is it a monthly buy? Is it a buy based on need? What kind of relationship do you have, and how do you want to develop that relationship? Now, in my business, a client would contact us and say, I'm getting ready to go to the ABC show. I need some help in training my staff. Or I want an audit of us before we go to our largest show. So it's a one-off. But once we got working with them, we might offer them an annual plan where we take their largest events and we give them a package for all of their shows and events. So you need to think in terms of what kind of relationship do you want with them? And that comes to the question of, how do you acquire, retain, and grow customers? What's the basis for which you do that? For example, the Cape Cod Times. We buy an annual subscription to it. We don't buy it every day, go down to the Stop and Shop and buy it. So they have to know that in order to determine how we buy, so they can continue the subscription that we have. You also want to understand what created the value to your customers, so you know why they're buying from you. So when you think about this, the customer relationship element must be very much aligned with your value proposition. And each one of your customer segments may only utilize a portion of your value proposition. And the value proposition becomes the basis of your marketing communications. So when you say that you help them determine the return on their investments, that may not be the same value proposition that an exhibit producer has. So you want to make sure that they are closely aligned. So in ways, the customer relationship are casual users. I use it when I get in the car and I'm going someplace that I don't know where I'm going, and sometimes I use it just to figure out what time I'm going to get there. Also, community support by game mechanics. So what you want to do is understand the relationship so that you can figure out how the customer will buy from you. Now, let's move to the left side. And the left side tends to be looking at the inside of your organization. So ask yourself, what are the key activities that your value proposition requires? What are the strategic and unique activities that your value proposition, your customer relationships, and distribution channels require? What activities do you need to provide you with competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage is positioning yourself in the mind of a buyer so they see no suitable substitute for you. What is it that you offer that your competition does not offer? And what activities do you have to have in order to achieve that position? So think about the important things in your business and what it must do without fail to make the model work. And when you do that, you might look at the different elements that promote your value, whether it be manufacturing or sales or distribution or marketing. So the categories are varied, but they're the important elements that you as an organization must do to make your model work. Now, in ways, it's finding new markets, developing new software, selling to advertisers. Those are all elements that you have to have in order to make this value proposition work for your customers. Next, you have to look at partners. Who are your key partners? Who are your suppliers? When we first started our business, we didn't have PowerPoint. All our presentations were done on slides. So I had a slide maker as a partner. I had to have somebody do our graphic design work. I had a graphic design organization made up of 3 people for 27 years. Our partners were our bank, were our graphic designers. So think in terms of who do you need to partner with in order to make this work? Certainly your bank, like Middlesex, your suppliers that provide you lines of credit. Also, how you get your product to market. Now, some of your partners are strategic alliances. You go to market together. For example, we sold to companies that exhibited at trade shows and events. One of our strategic partners were exhibit builders. They would build a new exhibit and they would offer a training program or a measurement program. Some were joint ventures. We'd go together. Sometimes it's just a buyer-supplier relationship. Sometimes it's a competitor that offers something just slightly different to you that a customer may see as an advantage to work with you. So think about partners as a way to extend your sphere of influence. Well, for Waze, it was big advertising and gas chains and community leaders. Now, your partners are also your resources, and they help you perform all the functions that it takes in order to operate your business model. So when you're thinking about cultivating your buying and selling relationships to maximize the advantages and efficiencies of your business model, think about your partners and how you will organize yourself to work with others. Now, your resources are different than your partners. So you ask yourself, what are the strategic and unique assets your business has to have in order to successfully compete? It might be financing. It might be physical plant or logistics or just intellectual property. It may be human capital. So what are the must-have resources that you need? So what kind of resources are we talking about? Well, we're talking about financial, startup funding or operating funding, or research and development funding, or even growing your business. Most small businesses don't know how to plan for growth because they don't understand how to grow or expand their businesses. So they have financial resources. Or it might be human resources. It might be getting knowledge or skills, or tapping into outside resources like talent. Or it might be physical, your location, a retail store. It might be equipment and intellectual property. That is trademarks and patents to protect your secrets, your approaches. So you think about the resources you need in order to make your model successful. Well, ways, resources are software, algorithms, developers, maps. These are all their resources that they and their partners need to fulfill the activities. So you can see how each one of these builds on the next to tell the story of your business model. Now, you also want to think about the economics. So what are all the inherent costs that you're going to experience in your business? What are the fixed? What are the variable? How do you achieve economies of scale? What key resources are the most expensive, and which ones can you achieve through other tactics? And positive cash flow. What kind of flow is this business model going to create? Most businesses that are in trouble because they do not have positive cash flow. They run out of money. And that's where your banking partner can come in, help you to understand how cash flows in your business. What are your major cost drivers? And then look at how are they linked to revenue. Now, the one important thing you want to think about is, what are your revenue streams? I had a conversation this morning with a client on revenue streams. She makes granola and she wholesales it. But I said to her, well, what happens if the wholesale business declines? What's your alternate revenue streams? So you need to look at the revenue side of the equation. How does your business earn its revenue? Now, in our business, our training side had live training where we'd go to a trade show or go to a company and perform training to teach exhibitors how to work trade shows and generate the return they're looking for. We use distance. And before Zoom, we had distance training. We also did self-paced, which was web-based. So we had 3 different revenue streams within our training side of our business model. We also had 3 different revenue streams on the measurement side of our business. We had qualitative measurement, we had quantitative measurement, and we had audit measurement. So based on each one of those elements, we had a cost side. So when we look at the revenue side, we have to also look at what value are our customers willing to pay? And ask yourself, what kind of sale is it? If you go back to looking at the type of customer relationship you have, is it one sale at a time? Is it recurring sales? Is it a few customers, or is it many customers? But always keeping in mind positive cash flow. So is your value proposition in alignment with your revenue streams? So make sure that you keep those 2 elements in mind as you develop your business model. Ways looked at advertising by roadside businesses or pay per impression as revenue, and also real-time market as their revenue streams. Now, the one area that we have found that is not included in the business model canvas that must be included is competition. And rather than redrawing the business model canvas that was created by Strategizer, we just suggest that you add a block of your own. Who are your key competitors? Where are they located? What products and services do they offer that align with yours or are different? What's the depth and breadth of their offering compared to you? And then look at what's their positioning. Where are they positioned in the market? Are they the go-to competitor? Do they have a niche that people gravitate to when they have a need? These are the key questions, but you also want to make sure that you understand how they price. What kind of promotions do they do? What are their differentiators compared to yours? Are they a multi-unit operation? Are they profitable? How do they go to market? So if you do this, then you're going to have a picture of the competitive landscape, especially if you're launching or you're expanding yourself. Now, I want to step back for just a moment and look at the business model canvas based upon the structure of it. One side is the business infrastructure, and that is your partners, your activities, and your resources. The other side is your customer infrastructure. Who are your customers? What's your relationship to them? And how are you going to reach them? How are you going to communicate with them? How are you going to let them know you're out there and that your brand should be taken notice of? And in the middle, you got the business value, which is your cost structure and your revenue stream, and your customer value, which is your value proposition. What need, want, or desire are you fulfilling? Now, just like David said, Mr. Churchill said, they who fail to plan to fail. And why is that? Because you have jumped in and started without thinking through who you are, what you're doing, where are you going, how are you going to get there? If you do that, you're miles ahead of those that just start. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Pre-COVID, another mentor and I, who had been the vice president of distribution for Sunkist orange juice, and I mentored a couple who wanted to start an iced tea business. When they came to us, we said, tell us your story. They laid out labeling, name, brand. They laid out packaging. And by the way, they had invested $65,000 because they retained a New York advertising agent to do this for them. So my partner said, well, what information did you generate from your field tests? Well, we haven't done that yet. How do you know what your price points are? Well, we decided that this is a premier product and this is what we're going to price it at. So it turned out that after several meetings, they just decided they were going to go their own. They found out that their labeling didn't work. They found out once they did field tests that their price point was not going to work. They then went to California and did some field testing and found out that their plan that they had in their head was not going to work, and they had to begin again. So plan is the way to get from where you are to where you want to go. Now, in this handout is an appendix that has an entire business plan laid out. If you would like it, just let us know and we'll be glad to send it to you. Jim, any questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple, Mark. First, what are growth and expansion strategies that businesses do not understand?
Say that again.
What are growth
Oh.
and expansion strategies that businesses do not understand?
Well, number one is laying out a plan that allows you to generate the assumptions that it takes in order to move from where you are to where you want to be. And then test those assumptions. How many of you ever seen a restaurant that decided to open in another location, make 2 locations, without considering the environment, considering the location, considering the customer base? So it's laying out the assumptions and then testing the assumptions that you're making and expanding. Secondly, it's understanding what kind of capital resources do you need in order to make that expansion. And then including your partners, like your bank, your lawyer, your accountant, to help lay out what is it that you need in the way of financial resources in order to make it work, and then do the projections to assure that you have thought through all the elements of it. Does that help?
It sure does. I think people sometimes fail to recognize that expanding a business always comes with additional costs and investment requirements. And you need to plan for that just as if you plan to start your business in the first place. Mark, the next question is, please comment on using AI to help construct or generate a business plan.
Funny, I just had that discussion with a client a few minutes ago. AI, and I'm not an expert, can be used to create an outline, to create a core of information, to help define the elements. I am sure that there are AI experts even on the call that can add to it. But to me, the way you use it and the way it can be used effectively in business planning is to define elements of it. In other words, the value proposition. If you say you are a business planner, what are the needs, wants, and desires of people who are interested in exhibit market planning? And see what kind of response you get. And if somebody has a plan that they're working on, we could actually, oh, I can't do it on this computer. I don't have it. Sorry. Jim, do you have a response for this?
I do. Have to recognize that AI is a tool. It is a research tool that you can use. You can ask it boatloads of questions and get great answers, but they're just not your answers. They're not your value proposition. You need to take that as you do research to do in any field and think about how it relates to your own particular circumstances and your own particular business. It isn't perfect. Don't just copy it and paste it and put it into your business plan. Use it as a tool and think about what it's telling you, and then think about how it works for you. But don't just say, I need a business plan for a florist, take what it gives you and go to your local bank. That's not the way it's going to work. It's a tool that can help you to do the research that you need to do and to get good ideas. But you need then to use that as a research tool and not as your answers.
If we want to have David, you want to unmute? I think we have a question. What are the David? Yeah, there you go. What are the key things you're looking for from the bank as a bank in a business plan?
In a business plan? Well, I think we'll be looking for a lot of the things Mark highlighted in his presentation. We'll also be looking for some financials. We like to see 2 years projections of an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow, and have you be able to articulate the assumptions. How did you arrive at those? and preferably have someone that some sort of technical service provider review those with you. And that's a service I think, you know, the folks at SCORE do a great job at is asking those key questions that make you think about each line item and bring some greater sense of reality to it, if you will.
Great, thank you. Speaking from experience, what are common among successful growing businesses? And I'm either if Mark, David, Jim, and Jeff, anyone want to comment on that one?
Yeah, I'll take a shot and then everybody else can jump in. I think from what we see, obviously they have a good plan. They pay attention to the details. They always put the customer first. And they take good care of their employees. I think if you have that, you're off to a good start.
I did one other thing, cash.
Yes.
Stay focused on your cash. Make sure that you don't run out of cash, and keep your business cash and cash flow separate from your personal cash and cash flow. Because that's the only way that you can be sure that you'll be successful in your business, is to understand exactly where you are.
I agree 100% on two fronts. Number one, stay focused. It is so easy to veer off your plan because we're all opportunistic in our approach, being entrepreneurs, wanting to start our own businesses. And secondly, manage your business using cash flow. The other statements are important, but stay on top of the cash. There is nothing more important.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mark. Yeah, stay focused on what you do well.
Right.
Don't get into something that just sounds good, but you really don't have the ability to take care of it. I think Alina Keith has a question for me. I think as a bank, are you limited to specific geographical areas or regions? We do focus on Worcester County East. Sometimes we'll stick our nose into southern New Hampshire or northern Rhode Island, but that's our primary lending territory.
Mark, the question is, how do you find out if your competitors are profitable?
The best way is to see what they're doing in the way of promotion and their activities, and watch for promotions and activities that guide you to the fact that they need to make emergency sales. They reduce the amount of promotion they do. Their visibility is reduced. And that shows that their expenditures are reduced because they have one thing or another going on within their organization.
Are there resources you can use to find out more information on your competitors?
Well, if they're privately held, no. I mean, you're not going to find much. If they're public, obviously you can find out. But I don't know of any that I've been able to use over the years with a privately held business to know whether they are truly profitable or not, other than their activity.
You can also talk sometimes to their suppliers. If you have common suppliers, you can ask how they're doing. You can secret shop. For example, if it's a retail outlet, go in and look. You can often see if a competitor is profitable by, are they investing in their stores? What kind of inventory do they have? You can talk occasionally to employees to find out how the mood is at a business. You can get generalized information, not competitor specific, from BizStats, but that will just give you general statistics about a particular industry in your marketplace.
Yeah, we used to do secret shopping for clients all the time at trade shows and events. We would come with a story and talk to the employees who were staffing the exhibit, see what was going on, and we're able to determine information about the way they are going to market, the changes that are going on in their organization, new products, etc. But that's a good recommendation, Jim.
We used to do the same thing when we were thinking about in a prior life when I was making business acquisitions. We would go incognito into the business and just start talking to people.
And you'd be amazed how easy it is to get
Oh.
people to talk to you. It's unbelievable.
Cost of a Diet Coke and you can get the Bible.
Right.
Somebody just asked if you could talk directly to your competitor. So I think you
Yeah.
kind of answered that.
Sure.
Okay.
I always found it very
Right.
easy
I'm
to
not
talk to
seeing
my
any other. Oh,
I always found it very easy to talk to my competitors when we were working at an event or at a trade show. And I'm always amazed at how much information you can generate just by, hey, what's going on? And especially if I was trying to determine whether there was an opportunity at a situation. So, don't be afraid to talk to everybody.
I have a bank question. If the business is a startup, whoops, sorry, the screen just moved on me. Without any cash flow, but with a solid plan, and you are willing to make a loan, what security and or guarantees do you typically require?
Well, I think every situation is different, and certainly, if you're talking about a startup that's totally based on projections, and we want to see how realistic they are. As far as the security and guarantees do we require, very often we'll look for personal guarantees on all our loans, no matter what the size. But it may require some pledge of personal assets, and we typically will use an SBA program to help enhance the credit as well. So those are the three things we look for.
What is a recommended size for a business plan? What's considered short? What's considered long?
Well, from a bank's perspective, I think we want a very succinct and focused plan that talks about a lot of the things Mark spoke about, and then some detailed financial projections. I don't know what Mark and Jim would suggest for the number of pages or whatever, but I'll leave that to them.
I don't count pages. I look at the story and its completeness.
But avoid excessive repetition.
Yeah. Many of the templates force users into being so repetitious it gets boring. So make sure that you tell the story and tell it once well.
Suggestion. Okay. Well, we've reached the top of the hour. I don't see any other posted questions. We will be sending a follow-up email. It will have the business plan template that he mentioned at the end of the presentation. It'll have the template that we did the presentation on. It'll have contact information for the bank, for SCORE, for getting a mentor. It'll have the recording link. So it'll also have the next program up in the series that Middlesex Bank is sponsoring, which will be financing a business on April 24th. We'll be going over the different types of different ways to finance a business, as well as through a bank loan. So definitely look for that registration link in that email and the follow-up. So thanks everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you at our next presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Teresa.